All right, good evening and many thanks for joining us. Welcome to Business Today. I'm Joran Paul Sonko with Winnie Buyinza Nakauchi on Sign Language. This is Business Today, where we give you the latest reports regarding business stories as they're happening locally and internationally. Now, we kick-started off with the Trillion Regional Export Facility, as the Uganda Bankers Association has established a regional export facility worth 1 trillion Ugandan shillings, and this particular one targets regional market trading with an interest rate of 12% Ugandan shillings or 6% US dollars per year in response to manufacturers' persistent complaints about the exploitation of the free trade zone markets. Now, the facility intends to increase exports from Uganda while also filing a funding shortfall for the industry. Nama Matumba with the details.
We'll have you sign.
The manufacturing sector, which employs more than 1.3 million people and has seen the number of industrial establishments rise from 80 in 1986 to 4,940 in 2019, accounts for 18.6% of the GDP, 19% of all exports, and 14% of tax income. In spite of the fact that, according to data from the Bank of Uganda, lending to the manufacturing sector has increased significantly over the past 15 years from 364 billion to 2.4 trillion Ugandan shillings. Funding for the industry is still insufficient. To support local firms in expanding their access to regional markets, the Uganda Bankers Association has developed a 1 trillion regional export facility. Speaking with Will Brodowall, the executive director for the Uganda Bankers Association, he disclosed that the association is collaborating with other businesses to make sure they capitalize on the African market. The facility will start operating on November 1st, 2022, with an interest rate of 12%.
Launched an initial portion of the regional export facility of 1 trillion shillings to support our various exporters that will be targeting the regional market, including Congo, DRC Congo, Southern Sudan, Burundi, Kenya, and so on. And this facility is priced at 12% per annum for shillings or 6% per annum for dollars. So even in the middle of the inflation and revision of the central bank rates by Bank of Uganda, the industry took an initiative that we support regional exports, especially manufacturers and all the SMEs who can support export, because we believe that will enable recovery.
According to data from the Bank of Uganda, the Democratic Republic of Congo is the nation's biggest export market when compared to other African community nations. In 2021, Uganda sold items to the DRC worth $666 million US dollars, followed by Kenya with $625 million US dollars, and South Sudan with $562 million US dollars. During the same time period, exports to Tanzania and Burundi totaled to $141 million US dollars and $72.2 million US dollars, respectively. The new facility is aimed at nations like the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi, where Uganda exports the majority of its goods as well. According to a report by the Uganda Manufacturers Association,
this facility has been one of the missing and important links for our exporters. This particular facility has been targeted for immediate neighbors, so DRC, Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, and neighboring countries, where we have been conducting most of our exports.
The manufacturing sector is dominated by SMEs, which make up to 93.5%. These are the drivers of Ugandan economy, for they make up to 90% of businesses in Uganda. The CEO of Abbey Finance Limited, Mona Sebuliba, states that the company plans to offer collateral strengthening to sustain loans, particularly for those in the agribusiness, which will total 1 to 4 billion annually.
Collateral enhancement product, the portable guarantee, which goes between 1 billion to 4 billion shillings. So it can support loans anywhere between 1 billion to 4 billion. And to qualify, the SME must have between 20 to 100 staff, or people that it employs. Its sales should be between 4 billion to 8 billion, and its asset base between 2.5 billion to 5 billion. So that largely speaks to the muscle that will be required for entities that want to participate in the regional export facility.
Manufacturers will have access to a 3 to 5 year export facility that will allow producers that have been stranded with goods to compete effectively with their neighbors. Exports, production and value addition will expand as a result, giving businesses access to East Africa's 300 million market with a particular emphasis on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
And now we look at the sugar exports in Uganda. About 600,000 metric tons of brown sugar and 60,000 metric tons of industrial sugar are produced annually in the country by 2021. Approximately 9,739 tons of sugar worth 1.3 billion Ugandan shillings were exported by Uganda. Now, this makes up to 56% of Kenya's total imports of 17,590 tons of the good in August. Rona Nahabwe brings you more details regarding the sugar market in Uganda.
As facilities closed as a result of elections, maintenance and a lack of a mature cane, sugar production in Kenya decreased by 34%, resulting in higher pricing for the product on store shelves for customers. Uganda provided 56% of the world's meal white brown sugar in August 2022, while Thailand provided 80% of the world's white refined sugar. According to data from Uganda Export Promotion Board, since financial year 2020-2021, sugar exports have been rising significantly. It is also important to mention that Uganda made $125.62 million from January up to August 2022 in sugar exports. On the phone, Smart 24 TV spoke with the president of Uganda Sugar Manufacturers Association on what could have sparked the broad market.
Uganda has surplus sugar, so the surplus sugar we export it. There's nothing we have put in place. The surplus is supposed to be 200,000. Kenya has only taken 10,000. I don't know why you are saying.
Sugar exports to Kenya are rising. Incidentally, to some of us, it's not a surprise. They have seen the relationship between the president of Uganda and the president of newly elected president of Kenya since he was a deputy president in Kenya. It's not productive anymore until maybe some time. And a number of others, like 2 or 1 other factories are down. So the only alternative they have is importing from Uganda, which is a good indicator of the relationship between the two countries. Secondly, we have been always having a surplus of sugar when it comes to what we are producing in this country. And Kenya being our neighbors and one of the key partners in the EAC, then it's little surprise that we are trying to fill that gap.
According to data from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the nation produced 510,000 metric tons of sugar in 2020, but with 360,000 metric tons of consumption. There was a surplus of 150,000 metric tons. Rona Nahabwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now away from that, data from the World Agriculture Organization indicates that 80% of Uganda's labor force is employed in the agricultural sector, yet they lack the financial resources to buy agrochemicals. To increase agriculture production, financial institutions' collaboration with agrochemical dealers looks to be very crucial. And we digest more of this in this report.
Enhancing agricultural production can be accomplished by using imports. According to reports, about 20,000 registered agrochemical dealers currently run their businesses and provide their services to the farming community, although they are restricted by the lack of access to capital. Therefore, development partners and One Local Bukola Agrochemical Industries have signed a memorandum of understanding to facilitate and strengthen in the areas of financing, especially for distributors and dealers in the agrochemical sector.
We work with farmers in helping them to do the right practices in agronomy with the aim to increase productivity. So we thought, what better a partner than someone who's already engaging with the farmers. We will work together in participation of training, using the right methods. At the same time, on the bank side, talking about financial literacy.
We help that person at Nabutongwa Trading Center. By helping that one, you don't have to give money to Bukola as, say, maybe financing. No, Bukola has had issues right now, not because he doesn't have the product, but because when he gives out the product, people need capital to buy from him. So we came in to manage their value chain. How? That don't look for money, look for business. For us, we finance you, you pay Bukola, then the entire value chain moves around.
Information has it that this partnership is looking forward to get available unsecured financing of up to 3 billion to an individual dealer or distributor of local Bukola agrochemical dealers through digital payment channels.
This economy is a net importer. We want to transform this economy into export. So what do you do? If these guys are growing crops but they don't have the right pests and pesticides and the like, then ideally there is no way they can make it to the export. They can never get export for their goods. So basically we are coming in to improve number one, which is critical, the quality of the goods that we produce. So when you look at all this, that means that we want to see one day Uganda being a net exporter. It is possible.
However, civil society organizations in Uganda have always been calling on government to immediately ban the use of agrochemicals that have been identified as harmful to human and animal life or banned in other countries. When asked about the safety of his agrochemicals, Dr. Peter Chabagu, director of Bukola Chemical Industries, responds that these agrochemicals must first undergo certification before being imported into the country.
Of course, before even we introduce a product onto the market, it has to go through testing, and also it's probably registered with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we have to have a certificate or to have this product coming into this country. So if it's not safe, definitely it won't be with us. Of course, we have an issue of counterfeit, and it's something which we have been fighting for a long time, and probably I need to make you aware there are people who are actually masquerading behind our name.
According to a report by USAID 2017, counterfeit agro-input products have gone high in the Ugandan market, affecting as much as 30 to 50% of the market. This trend will continue unless there is a united and concentrated effort to educate consumers, unite stakeholders to work together and develop or enforce rules and regulations. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now, away from that, we look at the future of agro-business in the country. As Parliament moves to secure food security through genetically modified organisms law, the future of the agricultural sector and the GMO-based agro-businesses is essential. There is a trend towards the protection of conventional food kinds, which should be established. Ivan Tibenkana reports.
Unlike Kenya, that reversed her position on GMOs late last week, a section of members of parliament led by Honorable James Nsababuturo set tone for calls to enforce food security through a bill that prohibits genetically modified organisms, as current high commodity prices, food inclusive, have demonstrated the need for a sustainable food basket.
Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs in short, have devastating consequences that very few people know about. Why? The lobby, the multinationals that are behind this, have invested heavily in disinformation. And we have scientists, our own scientists, who have bought the lie that GMOs are the savior of our continent, our people.
Fear of reliance on GMOs has been vested in the growing reproduction purchase model that has created a market for agro-businesses.
You cannot replant a GMO seed. So which means every season you've got to buy the seeds afresh. And so if you are buying the seeds afresh, which means the person holding the patency for that seed is the one who is going to benefit. In our traditional seeds, the seeds are able to self-propagate themselves.
Uganda's food production chain transcends GMO seeds to include fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides that boost productivity and whose reliance has been received with mixed reactions due to production challenges.
It's contaminated. You are using inorganic fertilizers. You are introducing new varieties of more deadly weeds as you are trying to use herbicides to make your crops grow. And so you find that these are actually a danger to our society. We still don't have better regulation mechanisms in place. And so we should actually be the last to be introducing GMO foods.
As food security metrics consider factors such as availability, cost, and utilization, among others, all chained to the production process, the position of agro-based businesses is bound to take a new dimension.
So many people who are in business, I question them. I'm not warning them, but I'm questioning them. The GMOs are good to those who need them. But to us who are doing massive campaign on organic, we are not thrived with a business. Even it will not even disturb us, because the GMO products, even on the market, they are European market and so on, it is classified as a GMO. You have to label.
There is still a growing campaign to wholly adapt an organic farming model to retain conventional food crop varieties and eventually mitigate potential future food insecurity.
Agronomic practices, which is good, use organic fertilizers, exploit every opportunity you have to see that you don't first rush to the last. It's like when you go to genetically modified, it's like you have rushed every opportunity you have, every chances you have, and you have failed, then you have lasted to, you have gone to the last chance which you have, which is not good.
As efforts to break a growing food market monopoly grow, Uganda's position shall be largely determined by the shape of legislations and evolution of agro-businesses to restore its former dignity as East Africa's food hub. Ivan Tibenkana, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now, Sustainable Development Goals provide worldwide guidance for addressing the global challenges facing the international community as they help combat the urgent environmental, political, and economic challenges that continuously face the entire world. Today, we assess the rate at which Uganda has embraced the applicability of these particular goals despite the shortfalls encountered in the process. Bronia Katusime reports.
The Sustainable Development Goals, sometimes referred to as the Global Goals, were enacted by the United Nations in 2015 as a global call to action to eradicate poverty, safeguard the environment, and guarantee that by the year 2030, peace and prosperity will be experienced by everyone. These acknowledge that development must balance social, economical, and environmental sustainability, and that actions in one area will have an impact on outcomes in others.
Yes, with the SDGs, for example, when you look at the government initiatives which have been put in place, like now this Parish Development Model, which is starting, it's such a very good model that if it's well implemented, all the people who are poor, who are being supported, who will be supported and are targeted, should be able to eliminate poverty and be able to feed their families. And once that one is done, then Uganda should be able to move to the next level of programs which are targeted to the people who were left behind and who are poor. And once they participate on these programs, then they should be able to grow. So I'm sure in the remaining 7 years, we should be able to achieve majority of the goals.
The principle of sustainable development emphasizes basic requirements. Firstly, need for socio-economic development, and secondly, need of limitation imposed on the environment's capability to cope with the present and future requirements. With such policies, these goals are capable of achieving all desired intentions.
The implementation of SDGs has been guided by a number of existing frameworks. We have an SDG roadmap. We have also an international framework that sets the international indicators, and Uganda has been able to domesticate these SDGs in its own frameworks. And the roadmap that we have, the current roadmap, is the one that will be guiding the implementation of the SDGs in this country.
However, there are times when accomplishing these objectives can be difficult because of numerous economic catastrophes that are likely to occur and divert government spending. This presents a challenge to the government to remove the potential obstacles.
Of the financing is coming from abroad, from funders like PEPFAR, Global Fund, and the rest, name them. What does it pose to the country, say if there is another pandemic and the priorities shift? Does that mean that we shall stop accessing ARV treatment for people living with HIV? Yet we know that once one is HIV positive, they can never be negative. They need their treatment. It's a lifelong treatment. They need care and support. They need psychosocial support. So we need to be deliberate as a country to see to it that we resource mobilize domestically. Let's look at the private sector. There are very many companies in the country. Sometimes we look at HIV as a health component, but in a way it fits in the different sectors, in education, in businesses, in tourism and all that. If there are high HIV rates in the country, we will not have people to employ who will work full time. We shall not, people will be scared of coming to the country for tourism because of the fear of you never know what may happen. I may contract the virus. So we need to be deliberate as a country to finance HIV.
According to the analysis in terms of the current status and trends toward achieving the SDGs, SDG 13, climate action, is the only goal for which most African countries are on track. SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, is also an area for better performance for Africa overall. The goals facing the greatest challenges are SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and SDG 16, peace, justice and strong institutions. Tunisia is the top-ranking country in Africa, with the findings showing that a country is 67% of the way towards achieving the SDGs. In terms of sub-regions, North Africa performed the best overall, and Central Africa performed the worst overall. Bronia Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
More business today after the break. Meanwhile, I'm still Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Buyinza Nakauchi on Sign Language. Stick around, we'll be right back with more.
Smart 24